Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Newsnight on DD India, your primetime destination for news and bespoke analysis. It's good to have you again with us. All right, on the show tonight, we ask, why is it that few question the efficacy of a vaccine manufactured abroad, but when it comes to a made-in-India vaccine, instead of celebrating it, we see doubts being raised about its efficacy? Why? Doesn't it betray a lack of confidence in one's own ability? Isn't it a disservice to Indian science and industry? We go behind the news to make sense of the so-called vaccine politics. Also on the show, we focus on the 40-day-long farmers' protest. Monday saw a 7th round of talks take place between the government and the farmers. We get to the latest on that as well. Plus updates from India and the world, all that and much more coming up over the next 1 hour. But first, as always, the headlines. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan hits out at opposition for creating doubts about indigenous vaccine, says they are maligning our scientists for political ends. The BJP too slams the opposition, says they are afraid of India's success. Indigenous vaccine Covaxin manufacturer Bharat Biotech chief asserts that their vaccine is highly effective. Trials have been conducted in 12 countries, hits out at those expressing doubts over innovative capability of Indian scientists. Talks between government and agitating farmers ends without definite outcome, and next round of talks on 8th January. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar says government ready to talk on all issues. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses importance of global acceptance of Make in India products apart from global demand, inaugurates National Atomic Time Scale and a directory for standard products. Income tax officials question Robert Vadra for alleged Benami properties he purchased in the United Kingdom through an arms dealer. Intense cold wave conditions prevail in northern India. Intermittent rains in Delhi NCR and adjoining areas of Punjab and Haryana. Met Department predicts more rains in the next 2 days. International jury for the 51st edition of International Film Festival of India announced 5-member jury to be headed by eminent Argentinian filmmaker Pablo Cesar. It also includes filmmakers from Sri Lanka, Austria, Bangladesh, besides India. In international news, a London court blocks the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the US on medical grounds. Assange was linked to publication of several classified documents of the US government a decade ago. And in cricket, entire Team India, including 5 players who were spotted breaking the isolation norms last week, test negative for COVID-19. The report comes as a big relief for the team ahead of the 3rd test at Sydney beginning Thursday. Right, first up, the government on Monday held a 7th round of talks with the farmers as the protest completed 40 days. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar says he remains hopeful of a resolution. Here's more.
The farmers' agitation against the 3 farm laws remains unabated. On Monday, another round of talks between the government and farmers was held at Vigyan Bhavan in the national capital. The meeting was used to discuss the remaining 2 agenda points, including 3 farm laws and the issue of MSP. The meeting was held in a cordial atmosphere. However, the talks could not move ahead as the farmers' unions stuck to their demand for the repeal of the farm laws. The government expressed hope of finding a solution in the next round of talks.
चर्चा में स्वाभाविक रूप से माहौल अच्छा था, लेकिन एक्ट रिपील पर अड़े रहने के कारण कोई रास्ता बन नहीं पाया। लेकिन मुझे आशा है कि जिस प्रकार की बातचीत आज हुई है उस हिसाब से अगली बैठक में सार्थक चर्चा होगी और संभवतः हम लोग समाधान तक पहुंच पाएंगे.
The next round of talks will be held on the 8th of January. Agriculture Minister said that there are millions of farmers in the country and any decision that will be taken keeping in mind the interest of everyone.
जब इस प्रकार के विषय होते हैं तो निश्चित रूप से चर्चा के कई दौर करना पड़ते हैं. समस्या के कानूनी पहलुओं को भी ध्यान में रखना पड़ता है, पूरे देश को भी ध्यान में रखना पड़ता है. देश में करोड़ों किसान हैं, उनकी अपनी भावनाएं हैं, उनके कानून के लाभ और हानि और हित उससे जुड़े हुए हैं. तो सरकार तो देश भर के किसानों के प्रति प्रतिबद्ध है ना.
The farmers also had their lunch during the meeting. Union Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Som Prakash, also held discussions with the farmers during lunch. The previous talk between the government and farmers was held on the 30th of December. According to the details shared by the farmers, the meeting on the 30th of December held detailed discussions on 3 farm laws, MSP, and Commission for Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region and Adjoining Areas Ordinance 2020. Following the meeting, both sides reached agreement on 2 issues, including Commission for Air Quality Management in National Capital Region and Adjoining Areas Ordinance 2020 and the Electricity Amendment Bill 2020. All the Union Ministers and Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself have repeatedly said that agriculture reforms are meant for the welfare of farmers and they will benefit from them. The government has repeatedly made it clear that it is ready to address the farmers' concerns. Meanwhile, the farmers' protest continues at several Delhi border points. People are also facing huge problems due to the protests by farmers at the border points. With O.P. Yadav and Shailendra Mishra in Delhi, Newsline Desk, DD India.
Right, let me dive straight into our cover story. Now, why are some people and parties playing politics over a COVID-19 vaccine made in India? Now, the company that's developed the vaccine, called Covaxin, says the insinuations are totally uncalled for. The government says the opposition is maligning Indian science for its own political ends. Here's a comprehensive report.
While the entire world is battling the COVID pandemic and nations are scrambling to get vaccination drives started for their populations, India achieved a landmark when 2 vaccines were approved for emergency use. However, politics continues unabated on the COVID vaccine, as many parties indulged in baseless rhetoric on the vaccine candidates. So much so that the continued rhetoric has now forced the Indian vaccine manufacturer Bharat Biotech to come forward and dispel all the myths and misapprehensions that are being floated around by vested interests. Bharat Biotech CMD Dr. Krishna Ella dismissed allegations that the company has not made the clinical trial data public. He said that the trials of Covaxin are being conducted simultaneously in 12 nations, and the company has shared results via 5 articles that have been published in international medical journals.
You look at Pfizer, they have 5 publications, Pfizer. AstraZeneca, 8 publications. Moderna, 3 publications. Sputnik, 1 publication. CanSino, 2 publications. Sinopharm, 1 publication. Sinovac, 2 publications. Bharat Biotech, 5 publications. We are no way inferior to Pfizer in terms of publication. All international. Oh, they ask, where is the public domain? It's there in the internet. Somebody has to go and see that, read it, and then come back and ask the questions.
Dr. Krishna clarified that now that the vaccine is being politicized, he has come forward to state very clearly that none of his family members is associated with any political party. He further elaborated that Bharat Biotech is not just conducting clinical trials in India, it has done clinical trials in more than 12 countries, including the UK. Bharat Biotech is not a company without experience in vaccines. Bharat Biotech is touching 123 countries. The efforts have proved that India can innovate. India is not a copycat country. Bharat Biotech has the only BSL-3 production facility in the world. Even the US doesn't have it. Bharat Biotech is here to help any of the public health emergencies in any part of the world. 20 million doses are ready, and the company is aiming to achieve 700 million doses capacity. The meaning of restricted use in emergency situation in clinical trial mode is no placebo. The company will keep vaccinating people at an open level and then monitor the safety and efficacy.
We are not a company of India, we are a global company. And I think our pandemic experience and emergency vaccine, people question us. These vaccine, HN-Vax, pandemic flu came in 2009. In 8 to 10 months, all three vaccines from 4 companies have developed in India. And we didn't do any efficacy trial. It was again an emergency clearance. And please note down, there was no efficacy trial for this product. We have done an efficacy trial, not even multinational, not even US and UK companies have done efficacy trial. They've got an emergency license for this pandemic flu. But of course, the history tells you that after that pandemic flu disappeared from the society. That's different. But cholera vaccine is also another one we are doing. We are taking global leadership in various vaccine.
First, former UP Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav and then Congress Party indulged in politics on the matter. The BJP launched a spirited attack on the parties who have sought to politicize the matter, which is of utmost national importance.
अखिलेश जी कह रहे थे ये बीजेपी की वैक्सीन है, मैं वैक्सीन नहीं लगाऊंगा। वैक्सीन कोई बीजेपी की और कांग्रेस की होती है क्या? वैज्ञानिकों ने ये शोध के बाद ये वैक्सीन बनाया है, जन कल्याण के लिए वैक्सीन बनाया है। और आपको जान के खुशी होगी, भारत में आज एक क्षमता है कि बाहर के देश किस प्रकार ये वैक्सीन हिंदुस्तान की फैक्ट्री में निर्माण हो सके, उसके लिए हिंदुस्तान को ऑर्डर दे रही हैं। और खुद हिंदुस्तान में बैठे कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं, कुछ ऐसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज और कुछ ऐसे नेता हैं जो हिंदुस्तान पर ही भरोसा नहीं कर रहे हैं।
Sambit Patra was particularly scathing on the Congress party and its leader Rahul Gandhi. He said that while the nation is congratulating the scientists and innovators, the Congress is raising questions.
किसी पे भरोसा नहीं है कांग्रेस पार्टी को, न भगवान राम पे भरोसा है, न इलेक्शन कमीशन पर भरोसा है। वैक्सीन जब आता है तब वैक्सीन पे भरोसा नहीं होता है। आखिर कांग्रेस पार्टी का भरोसा किस पे है? बंधुगण, कांग्रेस पार्टी का एकमात्र सहारा और उनका केवल और केवल विश्वास गांधी परिवार को छोड़ के और किसी पे नहीं है। उनके लिए सर्वस्व गांधी परिवार है।
BJP has further said that the Drugs Controller General of India has categorically rejected all the rumors that have been floated around by vested interests. Although facing all-round criticism for his comments, Akhilesh has given a clarification. But it's true that when the nation is passing through such a difficult phase and the battle against the global pandemic is critically poised, such comments not only create unnecessary confusion, but also prove counterproductive in the fight against such a deadly enemy. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Right, time now for our In Focus segment in which we are discussing about opposition plays politics over Made in India vaccine. Right, joining me is Prafulla Ketkar, editor, organizer, Weekly, and another guest will join us momentarily, Dr. Randeep Guleria, director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, or AIIMS, New Delhi. Prafulla Ketkar, if I can come to you first, since we are standing by for Dr. Guleria to join us as well. Now, I don't know if I want to laugh or cry at what's about to ask you. They say a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Now, let me jog your memory and people's memory. Some years ago, there was a huge ruckus over yoga because the government popularized yoga. They say, some people said yoga is bad, but they don't understand that millions of people overseas practice yoga on a daily basis. Ayurveda. People have run down Ayurveda, but the same people will recommend, the use of kadha, the traditional Indian drink, to boost the immunity during COVID-19 pandemic. Surgical strike, they said, where's the evidence? And now when we have a made in India vaccine, they're asking, where's the proof? I mean, what do you make of this unseemly controversy, Prafulla Ketkar?
There are two, aspects to this. One is, of course, the, unfortunate game of politics, where you oppose and criticize everything for the sake of it. But at the same time, there are certain minds which are, colonized, and they see everything that is Indian as subsidiary and not up to the mark. And both these things together are working, are at play now. When you start questioning anything and everything government does, and that also on a critical issue like vaccine, or our border management or strategic security concern, then it clearly shows that you are losing the plot. And the people who have lost the plot, who have become unelectable by all means, they create doubts about your voting machines, EVMs. They will create doubts about our border security, and now they are playing with the sentiments and the confidence of millions of people on the vaccine that is developed in India. First of all, calling it a BJP vaccine or calling it a vaccine, you can always question on the about the implementation part, what is going to be. That also yesterday, health minister has come out openly and said. And most importantly, please try and understand, this is just for the emergency use. Only the registered users who are health workers who for the emergency use, that is going to be, and after thousands of people who are experimented with, precisely 23,745 participants when it comes to the vaccine that is developed by Serum Institute, and almost a similar number were participated as volunteers in Bharat Biotech's Covaxin also.
Right.
So we should look at these numbers and then talk. Why to call anything as the BJP vaccine or the Congress vaccine?
Indeed. I'm told Dr. Guleria is finally with us. Dr. Guleria, welcome to Newsnight. Now, I want to ask you for your first reaction to what we've heard for the last couple of days, especially this morning from some quarters. Doubts being raised over what is a purely made in India indigenous vaccine, a moment to celebrate. But here we are discussing about the doubts being raised over its efficacy. You think it's an insult to Indian science and Indian industry alike?
I think we should understand that this is a great achievement and a moment for pride for every Indian. What has been done, our scientists have worked very hard day and night for the last 1 year, and in record time have been able to make a vaccine which has gone through all the phases of the trial, the animal studies, the phase 1, phase 2 and the phase 3 trial, and it has been looked at, the data has been looked at by an expert committee and by the regulators, and only then has the approval been given. So I think all due process has been followed, and therefore it's a moment to celebrate and be proud and really look forward to the pandemic ending because of what we've been able to do.
Indeed. Prafulla Ketkar, does it not betray confidence in one's own ability to do pioneering work, to achieve something which few countries in the world have achieved today? At the same time, or is it because the BJP is the party in power and one has to criticize no matter what the government does?
It is very unfortunate, which should be seen as a national achievement, is being targeted just for political reasons. Now, as Professor Guleria also explained, and yesterday, the Honorable Director of DCGI, Dr. V.G. Somani also said, this was cleared by the subject expert committee, who has a domain knowledge. They are domain knowledge experts in the field of, either immunology or microbiology or pharmacology. Now, if you don't trust them, then who are you going to trust? This is not cleared by the cabinet. This is not cleared by the subject expert committee has given a clearance to use these made in India vaccines for the emergency purpose. If people, and no government is going to do that compulsorily. Like the mindset is, now we won't show the papers, we won't use the vaccine. Who is forcing you to do that? But political posturing has become a very unfortunate habit. A national cause, when we are marching ahead with a totally different kind of mindset, especially during the pandemic, we have to come together on certain issues as a nation. Politics will play its role. political parties will have to cater to their constituencies. It is fine. But when it comes to certain issues, there cannot be petty politicking for the very petty interests. And that's why I said you can always ask issues related to the policies and implementation aspect.
Right.
But if you are questioning vaccines, then you are questioning actually the subject experts, the scientists, and their intent behind working on this on these particular vaccines.
Dr. Guleria, if I can go over what the Bharat Biotech CMD, Dr. Krishna Ella, said this afternoon. Now, by the way, viewers, Bharat Biotech is not a fly-by-night operator. It has a reputation of eminence, of having operated in several countries across the world. Now, the Dr. Krishna Ella says, trials being conducted in 12 countries as we speak, number one. Number two, 5 articles have been published by foreign medical journals. Number three, he says, my company is not linked in any way to the party in power. And last but not the least, he says, and I'm paraphrasing him here, India can innovate. India is not a copycat country. Dr. Guleria, your thoughts on the defense put forth by Bharat Biotech founder Dr. Krishna Ella?
So I think all the points are very, very pertinent. To begin with, this is a company which is well established. They have been here for a long time and their products are well known. They are international and been doing work at an international level. So there can be no doubt as far as the company is concerned or the products are concerned. Secondly, the fact that they have done work in India and they have done pioneering research is something that we should be proud of, and it is commendable. Somehow we are very impressed by work which is done outside, which may not be of that high standard, but we always doubt work done in our own country. Our scientists are the best in the world, and they have really worked very hard so that we can come out of this pandemic. And this is a moment that everyone should be proud of, and we should rise above our, let's say, partisan thoughts and really start praising our scientists and who have made our country proud. And we've started this new year with a new hope.
Indeed. And on the point of cold chain infrastructure, Dr. Guleria, help demystify a frequently asked question. There are some vaccines which require to be kept at -70 or -80 odd degrees, but there are other vaccines, including indigenous vaccines such as Covaxin, which can be kept at higher temperatures. Thereby, there's no need to have a cold chain that needs to be preserved for days on end at a particular temperature. So, is there something which has been factored in going forward as well?
Definitely. So the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine, which are the messenger RNA vaccine, they need to be kept at a very low temperature because
right.
The vaccine is made of the messenger RNA where it cannot survive at a higher temperature and the vaccine will become ineffective. What has been done by the Indian manufacturers is that the vaccine that they have made is at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. That means it's at a normal fridge. And therefore, this is a vaccine not only for India, but for most parts of the world. Because if you look at how vaccines can be given to a large part of the global population, it will only be at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. We cannot have a vaccine which is to be kept at -70 degrees for the whole world. It may be possible for some nations who have that facility, but majority of the nations in the world cannot maintain a -70 degrees centigrade cold chain. So this vaccine which India has made is not only for our country, it has a huge prospect for being a global vaccine for many countries in Southeast Asia, in Africa, and in Europe also. So this is a great achievement, not only from Indian perspective, but from a global perspective. Because now we have a vaccine which can be kept at just 2 to 8 degrees centigrade and which can be sort of kept for 6 months. And therefore, it will be really a big boon as far as vaccine for the world is concerned.
In fact, I want to throw some numbers at our viewers and skeptics out there. Now, they don't realize and understand India is, a pharmaceutical hub. It produces 60% of the vaccines supplied worldwide. And by the way, the indigenous vaccine, Covaxin, is a good example, a classic example of what PM Modi says, designed in India deployed for the work. On that note, Dr. Guleri and Prafulla Ketkar, thank you for joining us on Newsnight. Appreciate it. Thank you. Right, and while on the subject of vaccines, take a look at all the news related to the COVID-19 pandemic in India in our COVID Wrap segment.
A day after emergency use approval for 2 vaccines, Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Indian scientists for successfully developing 2 Indian COVID vaccines in the new year. He lauded the scientific institutions in the country, including CSIR, for coming together to find solutions for every challenge faced by the country. He said, India's COVID vaccination program is the largest in the world and is about to be started.
नया साल अपने साथ एक और बड़ी उपलब्धि लेकर आया है। भारत के वैज्ञानिकों ने एक नहीं 2 मेड इन इंडिया कोविड वैक्सीन विकसित करने में सफलता पाई है। भारत में दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा कोविड वैक्सीन प्रोग्राम भी शुरू होने जा रहा है। इसके लिए देश को अपने वैज्ञानिकों के योगदान पर बहुत गर्व है।
On Monday, the first shot of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine was delivered to an 82-year-old patient across the UK. With this, Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine campaign began across the country. Meanwhile, the CEO of Serum Institute of India, Adar Poonawalla, has tweeted and said, with COVID Shield approved and now made in India, I pay tribute to the strong India-UK partnership and vision of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and Boris Johnson for facilitating early dialogue between Serum Institute of India, AstraZeneca and University of Oxford. Meanwhile, the number of people affected by the new variant of corona in India is increasing. A total of 38 samples have been found to be positive with the new UK variant genome, 10 in Nimhans, Bengaluru, 3 in CCMB, Hyderabad, 5 in NIV, Pune, 11 at IGIB, Delhi, 8 in NCDC, New Delhi, and 1 in NCBG, Kolkata. All these persons have been kept in single-room isolation in designated healthcare facilities by respective state governments. Their close contacts have also been put under quarantine. Comprehensive contact tracing has been initiated for co-travelers, family contacts and others. Genome sequencing on other specimens is on. After the approval of COVID Shield and Covaxin, now all eyes are on when the vaccine will be given to frontline workers as well as common people of the country. Meanwhile, there is a steady decline in daily new cases of COVID in the country. The share of active cases in the total positive cases has further declined to merely 2.36% of the cumulative cases. India's total cumulative tests have crossed 17.5 crore. 7,35,978 samples were tested in the last 24 hours. Higher testing has led to further decline in the cumulative positivity rate to 5.89%. Recovery rate stands at 96.19%. With the hope of a vaccine rollout soon and continuous decrease in active cases, some states have started opening schools and colleges. Educational institutes, including schools, reopened in several states, though the attendance remained thin.
बहुत अच्छा फील हो रहा है इतने मतलब महीनों बाद स्कूल में आ रहे हैं। वैसे ही हम कोविड-19 के सारे रूल्स भी फॉलो कर रहे हैं, सैनिटाइजर लगा रहे हैं, हमने साथ भी लाया सैनिटाइजर, मास्क पहन रहे हैं, हमारे स्कूल के गेट के बाहर सब चेकिंग वगैरह होके अंदर आ रहे हैं। इतने देर बाद हम टीचर्स को देखेंगे, लाइव हम पढ़ाई करेंगे, तो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है।
आज बहुत दिन के बाद स्कूल आए हैं, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। सब फ्रेंड लोग के साथ मिले, बात किए, हिले और खेले। और अभी क्लास ही आए, अभी तो देखना बाकी है कि पढ़ाई होगा कि नहीं होगा।
With things looking up, one must pay heed to Prime Minister Modi's words, "Dawai bhi, kadai bhi," or no let up in precautions alongside vaccine rollout. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Right, moving on, Prime Minister Modi on Monday delivered his inaugural address at the National Metrology Conclave via video conference. The conclave marked 75 years of the founding of the National Physical Laboratory, New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday delivered the inaugural address at the National Metrology Conclave 2021 via video conference. He dedicated the National Atomic Timescale and Indian Reference Materials System to the nation. He also laid the foundation stone of National Environmental Standards Laboratory. He said the goal of a self-reliant India can be achieved by quantity as well as quality. He urged people to win the hearts of every customer who purchases an Indian product instead of just filling the world with Indian products. He said made in India products should not only meet global demand but also get global acceptance.
आज जब देश आत्मनिर्भर भारत का अभियान इसका संकल्प लेकर के आगे बढ़ रहा है तो हमें याद रखना है कि इसका लक्ष्य क्वांटिटी भी है लेकिन साथ साथ क्वालिटी भी उतनी ही महत्वपूर्ण है। यानी स्केल भी बढ़े और साथ साथ स्टैंडर्ड भी बढ़े। मेड इन इंडिया की न केवल ग्लोबल डिमांड हो बल्कि ग्लोबल एक्सेप्टेंस भी हो, ये हमें सुनिश्चित करना है। हमें ब्रांड इंडिया को क्वालिटी, क्रेडिबिलिटी के मजबूत स्तंभों पर और मजबूत बनाना है।
The PM said that over the decades, India was dependent on foreign standards for quality and measurement. But now, India's space, progress, rise, image and strength would be decided by its own standards. He urged the Indian scientific community to play an important role in keeping with the new standards and new benchmarks to proceed towards forging a self-reliant India.
सबसे बड़ी बात, नए मानकों से एक्सपोर्ट और इंपोर्ट दोनों की क्वालिटी सुनिश्चित होगी। इससे भारत के सामान्य उपभोक्ता को भी अच्छा सामान मिलेगा, एक्सपोर्टर की परेशानी भी कम होगी। यानी हमारा प्रोडक्शन, हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स क्वालिटी में जितने बेहतर होंगे उतनी ही ताकत देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को मिलेगी।
The Prime Minister said that the possibilities of research and innovation were endless for Indian youth. He urged young researchers to chart a totally different future with their research and inventions.
आज भारत के युवाओं के पास रिसर्च और इनोवेशन में असीम संभावनाएं हैं, लेकिन आज हमारे लिए जितना इनोवेशन क्रिटिकल है उतना ही महत्वपूर्ण है इनोवेशन को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज करना। ये कैसे हो, इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी की सुरक्षा कैसे हो, ये भी आज हमारे युवाओं को सिखाना है।
The conclave was organized by the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, National Physical Laboratory, New Delhi, on its 75th year of inception. The theme of the conclave was Metrology for the Inclusive Growth of the Nation. Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan and Principal Scientific Advisor Dr. Vijay Raghavan were present on the occasion. With Sudhir Yadav and Sudhakar Das in New Delhi, News Night Desk, DD India. All right, let me break it down for the benefit of you, the viewers, who might not be familiar with the issues at hand here. Question number one, if you're wondering, what is metrology? To put it simply, it is the study of measurement. Now, why is metrology important? Well, one, over the decades, India was dependent on foreign standards for quality and measurement. Two, but now India's space, progress, rise, image and strength will be decided by its own standards. Third, complying with the international standards will help large foreign manufacturing companies to find a local supply chain. Fourth, the quality of export and import would be ensured with the help of the new standards, and it will provide quality goods to the Indian consumer and reduce problems faced by exporters as well. Next up, what is National Atomic Time Scale? Well, it indicates the Indian Standard Time with an accuracy of 2.8 nanoseconds. Now, the NPL, National Physical Laboratory, is India's timekeeper. Now, the NPL is, if we can just play out the next graphic for you, the NPL is responsible for the highest level of time and frequency measurements in India on a par with international standards. Fourth, the time scale is maintained with the help of 5 cesium atomic clocks and a hydrogen maser. Now, a maser is a device that generates or amplifies electromagnetic radiation. And finally, I want you, the viewers, to try this at home. Go to this website, nplindia.in, and copy this link to find out how accurate the time on your laptop or mobile phone is. I checked mine. My phone was 5 seconds faster than the correct time. Right, moving on. Why is the National Atomic Time Scale so important? One, India has become self-reliant in measuring the time within the range of a nanosecond. Now, achieving the accuracy level of 2.8 nanoseconds is a huge capability in itself. Now, the Indian Standard Time is matching the international standard time with the accuracy range of less than 3 nanoseconds. It will help organizations such as the ISRO, the ISRO, which works with cutting-edge technology. Also, banking, defense, railways, health, telecom, weather forecasts, they all will benefit from this development. And last but not the least, if we can move on, India was dependent on others for technology and tools for measuring air quality or emission. Now, it will make India self-reliant and create effective and cheaper tools for pollution control. And last but not the least, it will enhance India's share in the global market for technologies related to air quality and emission technology as well. Now, what is Indian Reference Material System? It ensures high quality measurement. And why is it important? Because drafting a certified material reference system will help Indian industry make quality products in sectors such as heavy metals, pesticides, pharma and textiles. Now, the new standards could bring global identity to local products. And finally, it will benefit the MSME sector as well. Right, moving on for now. Cold wave conditions persisted across large parts of northern India. For instance, Jammu-Srinagar National Highway was closed due to accumulation of snow in many places. The Met Department has predicted wet spells and thunderstorms for the next couple of days in Delhi and neighboring areas. The next report has more.
All of North India, from the Himalayan regions to the plains, is in the grip of an intense cold wave. Heavy snowfall in upper Himalayan regions and rains in the plains have added to the misery of the people. The images tell the impact convincingly. Delhi and neighbouring Haryana have been facing problems with intense fog formation in the early morning hours. The fields in Haryana are also bearing the brunt, while the UT of J&K continues to shiver owing to heavy snowfall, which has impacted movement on roads that have been closed. Uttarakhand is also receiving heavy snowfall. In Jammu and Kashmir, NH44 continues to remain closed for the second running day due to heavy snowfall, which has also shut down the Jawahar Tunnel due to overnight rains. Many trucks and vehicles remain stuck. Heavy snowfall has also been worsening the problems of the people of Uttarakhand. Northeastern Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi and northwestern Uttar Pradesh also witnessed rainfall on Monday. Delhi, meanwhile, experienced little respite from bone-chilling cold as the maximum temperature was 22.6 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees above normal. The minimum temperature was 11.4 degrees Celsius. The Met Department has forecast rainfall on Tuesday, while the national capital will encounter foggy days ahead on the 6th, 7th and 8th of January.
दिल्ली में लाइट टू मॉडरेट रेन रहेगा. अभी जो इंटेंस हुआ था कल ऐसे वाली होने वाली बात नहीं है और क्लाउडी वेदर रहेगा. आज नाइट में एक स्पेल अगर ड्रिजिल हो जाए वही है और कल भी होगा ड्रिजिल सुबह. अभी बाकी ये सिस्टम सारा मूव हो रहा है. बाय 7th मॉर्निंग कुछ नहीं रहेगा, क्लियर मतलब हो जाएगा वेदर. कोल्ड वेव नहीं होगा, 4 डिग्री वाला नहीं होगा 9 जनवरी तक. उसके बाद कोल्ड वेव बन सकता है। पंजाब हरियाणा में यही हाल है, कोल्ड वेव नहीं होगा 7-8 तक, बाद में वी आर मॉनिटरिंग।
The weather formation has also resulted in some scanty rainfall in certain areas of Mumbai on Monday morning. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Right, moving on, Prime Minister Modi will dedicate the KochiMangaluru natural gas pipeline to the nation on Tuesday at 11 a.m. via video conference. It will mark a milestone in the creation of one nation, one gas grid. Now, the 450-kilometer long pipeline has been built by Gas Authority of India Limited, or GAIL. There's a capacity of 12 million metric standard cubic meters per day. It will carry natural gas from the liquefied natural gas regasification terminal at Kochi in Kerala to Mangaluru in Dakshina Kannada district of Karnataka, while passing through Ernakulam, Thrissur, Palakkad, Malappuram, Kozhikode, Kannur and Kasaragod districts of Kerala. The project costs about 3,000 crore rupees. It created more than 12 lakh man-days of employment as well. Now, the laying of the pipeline was an engineering challenge because the route of the pipeline necessitated it to cross water bodies at more than 100 locations. Now, this was done through a special technique called horizontal directional drilling method. The pipeline will supply environment-friendly and affordable fuel in the form of piped natural gas to households and compressed natural gas to the transportation sector. It will also supply natural gas to commercial and industrial units along the pipeline. And the 51st edition of International Film Festival of India has announced its international jury with eminent filmmakers from across the world. The jury will comprise Pablo Cesar from Argentina as chairman, Prasanna Vitanage from Sri Lanka, Abu Bakr Shauki from Austria, Priyadarshan from India and Ms. Rubaiyat Hossain from Bangladesh. Now, Pablo Cesar is an Argentine filmmaker. He has contributed to the African cinema by making the critically acclaimed films Equinox, The Garden of the Roses, Lo Dios de Aqua and Aphrodite, The Garden of the Perfumes. Priyadarshan is an Indian film director, screenwriter and producer. In a career spanning over 3 decades, he has directed more than 95 films in various Indian languages, predominantly in Malayalam and Hindi, while also having done 6 films in Tamil and 2 in Telugu. Now, these days, the Rashtriya Rifles battalions in Rajouri and Riyasi are organizing medical and veterinary camps for the Gujjar and Bakarwal population there. Our correspondent Nandita Daga reports.
We are at a place called Luni Draman. This is a part of Rajouri district, and although Rajouri is a bordering district, this place is not. It is actually 50 to 60 kilometers from the line of control with Pakistan occupied Kashmir. But what is significant is that over there, these are the Pir Panjal ranges, and this place called Badhal Ki Gali, which is very adjacent to these Pir Panjal ranges, was a route for the Pakistani-backed terrorists to cross over into the Kashmir Valley from this place using passes during the summers, and that is why to win over the hearts and minds of the population here was very critical for the army. As you can see, women and children, they are all availing the facilities that they are getting here. There is free clothing which is being distributed by an NGO which has been organized by the army. Also a dispensary where free medicines are being given, protection against the coronavirus, which includes a sanitizer, a few tablets and soaps, etc. Other hygiene products are also being distributed to the women and children. A veterinary camp in progress over there. The majority of the population of this area, which is mostly Gujjars and Bakarwals, these are nomadic shepherding communities. They have goats, sheep, mules, horses, and in these remote areas, which are not even connected by very good roads, it is very important that these animals, they are taken care of.
मैं घोड़ा लेकर आया था और अपनी माता को लेकर आया था, माता की आंखों को दर्द था, ऐसे जिस्म में दर्द रहता है, तो फौज वालों ने बहुत मदद की है, दवाई दी है, घोड़े को भी दवाई दी है.
With camera person Smriti Ranjan Mahapatra in Lunit Raman in Rajouri, this is Nandita Dagar for DD News.
Now, areas such as Rajouri and Riyasi have remained peaceful even in the aftermath of revocation of Article 370. That's because the people in these remote areas are witnessing progress. Nandita Dagar spoke to some of the people who have availed the fruits of this progress. Take a listen.
मैंने जोहार नवोदय विद्यालय का एंट्रेंस पास किया है और इंडियन आर्मी ने हमारी बहुत मदद की है. उन्होंने कोचिंग सेंटर जो खोला था उनमें वो मैंने अटेंड किया और उसमें हमें किताबें प्रोवाइड की और डेली रिटन टेस्ट होते थे. तो जिसकी वजह से आज मैं जोहार नवोदय विद्यालय का एंट्रेंस पास किया और डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सेकंड टॉपर रहा.
जी एक्चुअली में मुझे ज़बरदस्ती लिया गया था, तो लोकल मिलिटेंट्स ने बचाया था. कोई फॉरेन मिलिटेंट्स, नॉर्मल मिलिटेंट्स ने मारा था मुझे, तो सम टाइम के लिए मुझे फिर उनके साथ अपने साथ उन्होंने रखा. उसके बाद मैंने सरेंडर किया क्योंकि मेरा मन ही नहीं था जाने का.
मेरी लात फ्रैक्चर हो गई थी, इसलिए मैं आया ये बैसाखी लेने, थोड़ी सहूलत हो जाए. मैं चल नहीं पाता, एक्सीडेंट हुआ था मेरा.
आर्मी यूनिट बग्गा से हम कोचिंग ले रहे हैं. मैम फिजिकल हमारा क्वालिफाइड हो गया, अब रिटर्न की तैयारी कर रहे हैं. मैम
आर्मी तो हमारे लिए बहुत ही हेल्पफुल रही है. वहाँ पे उन्होंने हमारे लिए कोर्स कोचिंग के लिए वहाँ पे हमें क्लासेस दिए हैं और वहाँ पे हमने वहाँ पे पुलिस कांस्टेबल के लिए उन्होंने पहले फिजिकल करवाया और उसके बाद रिटर्न की तैयारी करवा रहे हैं.
And now take a look at what else is making news around India in our national roundup segment.
The death toll in the incident of roof collapse at a cremation ground in Uttar Pradesh's Ghaziabad district has reached 24. 3 people have been arrested in the case so far. FIR has been lodged against 5 people, including the EO of Muradnagar. The Income Tax Department has recorded the statement of Robert Vadra in connection with the Benami property case. Robert Vadra was summoned earlier but could not record the statement, citing the COVID pandemic. In Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha administered the oath of office to Justice Pankaj Mittal as the new Chief Justice of the Common High Court for the Union Territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh at a swearing-in ceremony in Jammu. Tamil Nadu Governor Banwari Lal Purohit administered the oath of office to Sanjeev Banerjee as Madras High Court Chief Justice at the Raj Bhavan on Monday. The Supreme Court has asked Centre to reconsider the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Care and Maintenance of Case Property Animals Rules 2017, which provides for confiscation of cattle and vehicles used for cattle transportation even before the person accused of offences under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act is convicted. Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde stated that animals are a source of livelihood and that Section 29 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act states that animals can only be confiscated if the person involved is convicted. Hence, rules cannot run contrary to the express intention of the Act, the CGI added. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will travel to Sri Lanka on Tuesday on a 2-day visit, during which he'll hold talks with the country's top leadership and discuss issues of mutual and bilateral interests. He will also meet his Sri Lankan counterpart Dinesh Gunawardena.
And now to international news. Britain began vaccinating its population with Oxford University and AstraZeneca's COVID-19 shot on Monday in a world first, raising group protection to the elderly and vulnerable as a new surge of cases threatened to overwhelm hospitals. More than 75,000 people in the United Kingdom have died from COVID-19 within 28 days of a positive test, and millions in England are already living under the strictest tier of restrictions. Visiting a London hospital where health workers were among the first to receive the vaccine, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said new restrictions were forthcoming. Schools across Kenya fully reopened on Monday, although some parents fear that crowded classrooms could pose a danger to their children.
Tier 4
Hundreds of children formed an orderly queue that snaked through Kibera, Nairobi's biggest slum, on Monday, waiting to enter classes for the first time since March. Now, Kenya is the last country in East Africa to fully reopen its schools. The World Health Organization has warned that prolonged school closures pose risks for children, including higher rates of teenage pregnancy, poor nutrition, and permanent dropouts. Education Minister George Magoha said on Sunday that the government is trying to ensure the safety of students and teachers by distributing more than 500,000 desks and supplies of soap. Thailand's Prime Minister apologized on Monday to the people for the coronavirus measures and the inconvenience posed after the country's biggest outbreak. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha said the government was mindful of the potential economic damage from strong containment measures. In Bangkok, restaurants and food vendors have to hold dine-in services at 9 p.m., softening an earlier 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. dine-in suspension imposed by Bangkok authorities, citing economic concerns. Takeouts will be allowed, but alcohol sales in restaurants have been banned and bars and other entertainment venues closed in high-risk provinces. Provincial governors have been empowered to set their restrictions. Schools and education centers nationwide have been closed for a month. German police chased day trippers off the slopes of a closed ski resort on Sunday after hundreds of people had flocked to Winterberg east of Düsseldorf, defying appeals from authorities to stay home and respect coronavirus lockdown restrictions. Earlier in the day, police had sought to block access to the shut downtown in an attempt to enforce strict regulations in place across the country since 16th December. The Winterberg saw a rush of thousands of people in recent days, which led to traffic jams, overcrowded parking lots, and several breaches of anti-COVID-19 restrictions. Now, Germany is likely to extend a national lockdown beyond 10th January to curb coronavirus infection rates that are still running high and putting huge strains on hospitals and health workers, politicians said at the weekend. More Australian states and territories reimposed travel restrictions to prevent the spread of the coronavirus from new outbreaks in New South Wales and Victoria states. Victoria closed border to all travellers from New South Wales after 8 new COVID-19 cases were reported. Authorities have also issued $200 on-the-spot fines for individuals who were caught not wearing a face covering in certain spaces. Meanwhile, New South Wales authorities have made wearing masks compulsory at indoor venues, including gaming rooms, hair salons, places of worship and shops. Australia has avoided the worst of the pandemic following swift action by authorities to shut borders, enforce lockdowns and to carry out widespread testing and social distancing. The country has reported more than 28,450 COVID-19 cases and 909 deaths. Latin American countries reported over 1.3 crore confirmed COVID-19 cases as of Sunday, with the caseload in Brazil, worst state country in the region, nearing 77 lakh. The state of Sao Paulo, the most populous in the country, had registered at least 46,000, followed by Rio de Janeiro with over 25,000 deaths. In Sao Paulo, the government has announced entering the red phase in force, which only allowed essential commercial activities to operate. Argentina registered nearly 6,000 new cases on Sunday to add up national count to 16.4 lakh. The Argentine government has extended mandatory social distancing measures until 31st January. Also, the Colombian government has extended the health emergency until February 28, urging people to avoid crowds and observe measures to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Supporters of jailed WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange celebrated outside a court in London on Monday after a British judge ruled that he should not be extradited to the US. US authorities accused Assange of breaking spying laws and 18 counts relating to the release by WikiLeaks of vast troves of confidential US military records and diplomatic cables which they said had put lives in danger. Assange's lawyers argue the entire prosecution was politically motivated, powered by US President Donald Trump, that its extradition would pose a severe threat to the work of journalists. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps seized a South Korean flagged tanker in Gulf waters, Iranian media said on Monday, at a time of tension between Tehran and Seoul over Iranian funds frozen at South Korean banks due to US sanctions. Several Iranian media outlets said the Guard's navy captured the vessel for polluting the Gulf with chemicals. The semi-official Tasneem news agency published pictures showing what it identified as Guard's speedboats escorting the tanker Hankook Kemi, which said was carrying 70 to 100 tons of ethanol. It said the vessel's crew members had been detained and included nationals of South Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam and Myanmar. It said the tanker was being held at Iran's Bandar Abbas port city. Donald Trump pressured Georgia's top election official to find enough votes to overturn his defeat in the southern state. Trump's call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a fellow Republican, came as some of Trump's allies in the U.S. legislature planned to object to the formal certification of Biden's victory on Wednesday. The former VP was won by a margin of 306 to 232 in the state-by-state electoral college and by more than 7 million votes overall. Raffensperger and his office's general counsel rejected Trump's assertions and told Trump that he was relying on debunked conspiracy theories spread on social media about what was a fair and accurate election. Born girl and Charlie's Angel Tanya Roberts has died aged 65 according to a friend and agent on Monday. Mike Pingle confirmed the news of the American actress's death on Facebook. Roberts starred as geologist Stacey Sutton opposite Roger Moore in his final James Bond film, A View to a Kill, in 1985. Born Victoria Leigh Bloom in 1955, Roberts grew up in New York before moving to Hollywood in 1977. Her big break came as third Angel Julie after she replaced Shelley Hack in the US television crime series Charlie's Angels opposite Jacqueline Smith and Cheryl Ladd. In sports news, all members of the Indian cricket team, including the isolated 5 and support staff, have tested negative for the coronavirus after undergoing an RT-PCR test on Sunday. The third test of the Australia versus India 4-match series will start on January 7 at the Sydney Cricket Ground. It's a wrap, but news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.